I was doing a ride last winter up in the Yorkshire Dales and it was bitterly cold. So I decided to stop off at Shed 24, a great little cafe in the train station at Hellifield. Regularly gets visited by steam trains like the Flying Scotsman. And if you want, they'll do you a full cooked breakfast on a shovel. Yep, you heard me right, a shovel. Another cyclist walks in and we get chatting away like, as you do. And I noticed he was wearing his summer shoes. So aren't your feet cold, mate? No. No. I've got heated insoles. Flash kit. So Mr. Smarty Pants at Shed 24 got me thinking. He may have something with this heated insole idea. So the hours of research began. So from the outset it was pretty clear there were three main contenders for this job. Single-use disposable foot warmer style insoles, those cheap and cheerful ones with batteries that you see on Amazon, or a high-end product from a company that specialises in heated clothing. Now most of the ones I saw on Amazon had separate batteries that velcroed round your ankle, far from convenient. They looked cheap, they were cheap, and the reviews were terrible. So they were ruled out straight away. So this left the single-use foot warmers or the fancy ones. So let's have a look at those two options. First up, the disposable ones. Now these use an exothermic reaction. You see, I've done my homework. What that basically means in English is you expose them to air, it has a chemical reaction, and that chemical reaction generates heat.
Great Scott!
There isn't a lot you can say about them really. You take them out of the packet, stick them in your shoe and off they go, and they claim to produce heat for 8 hours. This pack costs £13, contains 5 pairs, which works out at £2.60 per ride. And now the high-end product. This is the latest offering from Bertschat. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. A company based in the Netherlands that specialise in heated garments. So I got in touch with them and I told them what I was going to do. And they said, yeah, you know what, that sounds really interesting. We'll get involved in that. And they sent me a pair of their insoles to try out. Now they won't be influencing the outcome of this test and they're not paying me in any way to say or do any of this, and this is my own personal opinion. Right, let's take a look in the box and see what we have got. A remote control for your insoles, how slick is that? A USB-C cable. Some instructions. When was the last time you bought a pair of insoles that came with an instruction manual that thick? And fancy carrying bag with a pair of insoles in it. So each insole has a 2200 milliamp hour battery that is rechargeable via USB-C. The insoles have 14 hours of runtime, have 3 temperature settings with a maximum temperature of 68 degrees and are controlled wirelessly through a remote control. Now, according to their website, recharging these will only cost you a penny per time. However, a premium product comes with a premium price tag. Prices for these start at £117. Now I'm one of those people that suffers in the winter months. My hands and feet are always cold on winter rides. October comes, I'm reaching for the winter boots, the overshoes and the gloves. Now I don't think I've got that Raynaud's condition. You know what? I just think I'm getting old. I'm nearly 53. So we have 2 insole types to test and 2 feet to test them on. So the obvious thing to do is stick one in each boot and go for a bike ride in the freezing cold. For this test I will be using standard summer socks but my winter cycling boots. I won't be using overshoes. The temperature today is 3 degrees. Yes, I would like it to be a lot colder than that, but there's not a lot I can do about the weather, so let's just work with what we've got. Now normally a temperature like that I would be wearing merino wool socks, my boots and overshoes. As I say, I do suffer with the cold. Right, so let's put these in some boots, get some cycling kit on and dig out the GoPro. Right, I'm all kitted up and ready for a ride. Sorry about the background noise, lumberjack down the road. So in my left, I've got the single-use disposable, and in the right, I've got my powered one. Instantly, I can feel heat coming off of the left one. Got my remote control. Right, let's switch it on and go for a ride. Right, so half an hour, or just over half an hour into the ride, and what do we know? First of all, don't let this glorious winter sunshine fool you. It's pretty cold for the UK, about 3 degrees.
When will I see you?
Yeah, it's probably more colder in somewhere like Norway or Iceland or somewhere like that. But for the UK, for the second week in November, it's relatively cold. So the single-use disposable in my left, chucking out loads of heat. To be honest with you, too much heat. Even if it was minus something, it would still be too hot. So yeah, the left-hand one, at the moment, a little bit too hot. Hopefully that'll settle down. The right-hand one, I've got it set to max. It's been going for half an hour. And I'm going to report warm on that, not hot, warm. But I know they've got like a built-in thermostat on them, so they don't go full trot constantly. They're self-regulating. Right, let's crack on and get some miles done. Oh, and to complicate matters, my bike started squeaking, which for me is quite annoying. And what's even more annoying, when I stop pedalling, it still squeaks. That means it's not the chain. That means it's a wheel or a wheel bearing. Watch this space for a wheel bearing video. Right, 1 hour in, I thought I'd stop at this amazing church. Amazing church. I thought I'd stop here and have a quick chat about fit and comfort. So first of all, comfort, yeah, they're both perfectly comfortable. Fit, the single-use disposable, that has just gone straight in on top of the insole in my left boot. The powered one, I've had to take out the existing insole from my boot and replace it with that insole purely because it's a lot thicker. Do I notice that? Yes, I do. What I would say is my boot now feels snugger than previous. The best way I can describe it is like I've got 2 pairs of socks on. Right, let's crack on. Right, so about 2.5 hours into the ride, the sun is just starting to set over there and the temperature is starting to drop a bit. And bad news is the left disposable insole has stopped working, so I've now got a pretty cold left foot. Right one still working absolutely fine, no problems with that whatsoever. I did find one annoying little thing. The remote was in my pocket with my phone, and my phone pressed against it and turned them off. So I've now fixed it to the front of my bike. I'll work something out with that. But yeah, as I say, I'm going to head home and find out what's gone on, because that left one has stopped working and my left foot is freezing cold. Right, back from the ride, and what's the conclusion? First up, the single-use disposable. How did that do? First off, as these are so thin, they will fit in any shoe, no problem whatsoever. Now initially, the heat generated by the single-use disposable insole was very good, borderline too good. However, as I set out on my ride, they stopped working. Now the reason they stopped working was, as I was explaining earlier, for these to work they need air, and I was using a boot that didn't give them enough air, so they stopped working. As soon as I took my foot out of the boot, instantly the insole started working again and generated heat again. So the argument there is, okay, use summer shoes. Yeah, But you're using summer shoes on a winter ride. What happens if it rains? You're going to get wet feet. If these things get wet, then they're going to stop working, and your feet are going to be even colder than they were if you were wearing winter shoes. Okay, so let's wear summer shoes and put an overshoe on them. Now, if your overshoes are really good overshoes, then you may end up with the same problem as you do with the boot, because if your overshoes are a quality overshoe, it will stop the air getting in. So depending on what type of shoe you use, these may or may not actually work for you. Now, if you can get them to work and you only need to use them occasionally, then this can be a good solution. But at £2.60 a pair, if you use them on a regular basis, for example, you live somewhere very cold or you need it for medical reasons, then at £2.60, this will start to add up and will start to be very, very expensive. I know it's only a small thing, but this can also be a bit of a faff to use, because depending on your shoe size, you may need to cut these down to get them into your shoe. So every time you do this, you need to cut them down. And the other thing is as well, you've got no control over them. So they're running at full heat if they do work, and then they just stop working. Right, so how did the Bertschat do? Now, the heat generated by these, it's hard to explain. It was a more natural feeling heat. The single-use disposable generated, when it was working, it generated a very unnatural feeling heat. This actually just felt like a warm glow under your foot. At no point was it too hot. And that's partly down to it having a remote control. So these, you can regulate these. So for example, you might find that you go out on a long ride, like a club ride, and you may find you set off at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's still cold and you need something like this. And you may also need it at the end of the day. But in the middle of the day, you may not need it, or you may just need it a little bit, so you can regulate that with a remote control, as opposed to the single-use disposables where it's all or nothing. The other great thing with these, because they've got up to 14 hours run time, you don't have to keep taking them out and replacing them. If you think your average winter ride, what's your average winter ride? 3 or 4 hours? So you're going to get a good few runs out of these before you need to recharge them. So like for like performance, this is a far superior product and it does a much better job. However, it's not all rosy with this product. Now, the shoe I was wearing today was actually my Northwave winter boot, and I would say I can quite comfortably wear 2 pairs of socks with these boots, because there's a little bit of room in these boots. And if you are using this insole, because there is a battery inside it, part of the insole, the back section of the insole, is slightly thicker, so you're going to need a little bit of room in your shoes. So as I say, because I can get away with 2 pairs of socks in those, this insole fitted in this boot. Additionally, what I call my touring shoes, no problem whatsoever. There's room in those. The insoles that are in this are quite thick anyway, and there's a bit of room in that shoe, so these also work with these. However, my super skinny thin Siddies with a ridiculously thin insole, there's no chance these are getting inside a pair of Siddies. Now, if you end up using this product on a regular basis, you know, day in, day out during the winter, for example, you live somewhere very cold, or for medical reasons, you need this kind of product and you're using it all the time, then this is without doubt a financially viable option. But at a starting price of £117, if you are just going to use this on, 1 or 2 club rides in the winter, then this may not be the best solution for you. Now, changing the insole in your shoe does come with a word of caution, as it may affect the way the shoe fits you, and it may also even affect the way that you fit your bike. And if you have a concern around this area, then I recommend you don't do it. So because you're watching this, I'm going to assume that winter kit is your thing, so why not check out that video next, where I share with you my top bits of winter kit, or alternatively, check out that video down there where I give you all my top tips on prepping your bike for winter. Thanks for watching.